welcome back to Pretend World's Real People. It's another beautiful Monday as I'm recording this. Actually, might be the probably one of the best Monday mornings we've had in Colorado for a while, despite my voice, which is full of just pure allergy BS. I'm gonna go ahead and skate it out after I record this, which is something I've been doing recently. I got back into rollerblading for the first time in I don't know, like 15 years. And yeah, first time getting on. Took about 20 minutes because your body's not used to it, but then you get back into that groove that you'd fall into as a young kid with, you know, no worry about what your copay is going to be like if you break an elbow or a patella. But it's been a lot of fun. It's just been my form of cardio as summer shred is coming up, and I'm trying to lean down for some hopefully some really fun rolls. But yeah, outside of that, just been another very busy week with work. Not a whole lot of auditions, but slowly winding down from like 4 or 5 weeks straight of a lot of gigs, which is great. But when you work a full day job as well, it gets a little tiresome. So I'm looking forward to about 2 or 3 weeks off and doing some more podcast stuff. But I hope everyone out there is doing well. Hope you had a great Easter if you celebrate Easter. I worked, but I ate a lot of candy, which goes against what I just said. Anyway, we are here to talk about Meredith Garretson, right? Because you're either a huge fan of Prodigal Son or mainly Resident Alien for sure. That show's amazing. Or The Offer coming up, which it looks like an amazing show based on the I guess the journey of how to get the first Godfather up and running as an adaptation, with some very non-discreet threats of retribution. Is that the word I'm looking for? From the mafia. So yeah, where am I going with this? I need coffee. I am trying to wake up, and I'm also trying to read what I'm about to say, which hopefully I don't screw up because I know I did it okay in this episode. But Meredith Garretson is a gramophonetic synesthete, which means, as she describes it, she sees different colors for different letters and numbers. That is the coolest thing. And we talk about that a lot. We talk about that. We talk about how, she graduated from Tisch, what she wanted to do as far as acting goes, having always been interested in the performing arts, and how she navigated, taking risks in this very unstable industry and is absolutely killing it. So, without further ado, let's get right down to it. Let's sit down and talk with Meredith Garretson.
My name is Meredith Garretson. I am an actor. I am currently working on my second season of Resident Alien, which just launched its mid-season finale last night on Sci-Fi. And I will also be seen on a show called The Offer, where I play Ally McGraw, which is due out on April 28th on Paramount Plus, and some other stuff in the works forthcoming. I'm an actress, artist, citizen, human being.
Oh, perfect answer. Love it. Love it. Curt, to the point, all the pivotal information is there. I'm going to throw a curveball your way, though. For the first thing I want to ask you is, if you could tell us what a gramophonetic synesthete is.
A gramophonetic synesthete. So, for as long as I've been a person and been, understood letters and numbers and stuff, I've always, when I see words, I see colors. And I used to ask people about this when I was little. I would be like, is A red to you? And someone would be like, what? Is it written in red? And I'm like, no, is it red? Is 2 blue to you? Stuff like that. Is 8 black? Things like that. And when I would read words, I would see color patterns. And when I say see, I mean, you get hit with a wash of color over the letters. It's not like suddenly my vision goes red. It's like I just feel a color is there. And it's been my whole life. And I thought it was some weird, I don't know. I didn't know what I thought when I was little, but I thought that nobody else understood what it was. And then I was speaking to somebody when I was like, I think in undergrad, and somebody said, have you ever heard of synesthesia? And all synesthesia means is when two of your senses overlap. So when one sense fires, the other sense fires. And there's all these different kind of synesthetes. Like there's a lot of synesthetes who are mathematicians, musicians, because it's a lot of creative people are synesthetes because you're operating on kind of two planes of experience or senses or multiple planes of experience at the same time. And so the main way that mine manifests is when I read or think of words or numbers, I see patterns of colors in my head. But there are really cool synesthetes who can like smell sounds, or they hear things, and they can feel sensations on their body. Like there's a story about a woman who she went to her dentist and she said, my back tooth is orange. Something's wrong with it. And he was like, your back tooth is not orange. And she was like, no, it's orange. It's normally purple, but it's orange. And he was like, all right, I don't. So he like did what do you call an X-ray?
Yeah.
And she had the beginnings of like a tooth decay in her tooth. And she just, anyway, synesthetes, it's a whole world. I could go on and on.
I had to ask it because when I was doing research on you, just to find more facts I could bring up, I found that I'm like, I'd never heard of that before, and it's amazing. It sounds like a very academic X-person team.
It's kind of like a superpower. Like if you're on like the like Justice League, and like you're the person who can like summon a vacuum at will, and everyone's like, what? And you're like, yeah, I can make a vacuum come here. And everyone else is like, okay, well, that's not going to save the planet, but good for you, I guess. That's kind of like being a gramophonetic synesthete. Like I'm like, I can memorize so quickly because I can tell when I'm not on the line, because I know that what I'm saying doesn't match the color that I feel in my head. So it makes me really quick with memorization. But other than that, it's kind of a worthless superpower, but I'm still very proud to own it, because for so many years I thought I was just bonkers.
Yeah, which seems like anybody with a skill like that, you would feel crazy, right? So that's why I was wondering, when it comes to memorizing, it has to look so melodic and orchestral to you when you're reading the lines. It should be, I don't want to say like easier to memorize, but there's a connotation there that very few people have. That's insane.
Yeah,
So
there's one other version of synesthesia that I have, which is a little weirder, which is I have a little bit of sight smell overlap. So certain people, certain things I'll smell things when I see them. And there's certain things, or like I'll be watching a movie and someone will be on the movie screen, will be in the film, and I'll be like, oh, they smell unpleasant. And then I'm like, damn it, what in the what? Like that is why, get out of my head. That's so, I'm sure the person smells like roses or cologne or whatever the hell, but anyway, that's my weird synesthete stuff.
That's just fit. I had to ask that because as I was reading more about it, I thought, I've never heard of this before. I need to ask you, what's your perspective on it? And I had to throw a curveball your way when we started the episode, or else it was going to eat me up as we're talking. I wouldn't be able to fully just like focus in. But that's fantastic. For those of you who, never thought about, look into it because it's really, really interesting. And I always had sort of a sight smell form of that when I was younger, and it'll come back every now and again. Something similar to what you have, where you'll see somebody and you go, ugh, they're not great. So going to like Sundance, things like that, there's few people I'd have to just fake a smile and shake their hand, like, yeah, this is really good to meet you. Oh my god,
look into this.
Disgusting.
Oh my god. See, and then you're like, why did you give me this over? You're kind of like, I don't want to think like, oh no, I don't want to think that. Like, thanks, body.
Yeah, anyway. Like they're great people. Can't stand around them. All right, man. I'm gonna hop off that tangent, and I want to go back. After you brought up, growing up with that and thinking that you're a little bonkers. I do want to ask, when did you? Because I've listened to some interviews with you, but when did you decide you're going to pursue acting full time, or was it something you just sort of fell into and thought, all right, I'll give it a shot. I seem to be pretty good at it. Why not?
Mm. You know, I'm sure you've heard me say this, and it's because, well, because I'm a broken record, but it's also because it's just true, which is that this is all this is my one of my body's um highest and best uses. This is something that, you know, regardless of what the outside world thinks, or what kind of feedback or validation I get, that I'm supposed to do. And I've known that since I was old enough to talk. And I spent my entire childhood, you know, obsessively watching old movies and going to plays. My mom and dad would take me to plays, and they raised me on old movies and on lots of great films, and encouraged me in that way, and which is such a gift. And I grew up writing my own plays that I would direct in and star in, and force my sister and my cousins to perform with me every summer. And I would make our whole family come and watch. And all the adults would just drink as much as they could get in their bodies to like get through one of my like 2 hour opuses, or like us lip syncing all of Bye Bye Birdie. I mean, just horrible things. But I think this has always been me in um, my most revealed, truthful iteration. But I would say I was in undergrad. I came into school as a journalism major. I cycled through all these different majors. I wanted to major in Spanish. I wanted to major in journalism. I wanted to major in anthropology. I was interested in going pre-med for a while. I started kind of dabbling, taking classes, biting at things. And it didn't occur to me yet that I had done plays all through middle school and high school, that I loved drama. I just, drama capital D, not drama little d. But I just couldn't. I was very academic, and I liked sports, and I thought, oh well, this is this other thing that I just love to do, but I don't get to just do that for my life. And then it just kind of hit me like as a personal revelation in undergrad, that I've been circling around the concept of human stories and the human experience, and that's present in language, in medicine, in anthropology, in journalism. It was just wanting to be a part of the cathartic experience of revealing the human experience, and I just couldn't name it because I didn't think that was a real possibility, even though it was this little jewel in me, in my heart of hearts, for as long as I can remember. So I committed to it in undergrad. At my sophomore year, I transferred to the theater department, and I never looked back.
Would you say, I mean, it sounds like, would you say you always had a high level of empathy for others?
Yes,
Yeah.
I am. I think people refer to it as a hyper empath.
Mm.
And that I don't say to pat myself on the back. I say that because that is a gift and a curse, absorbing and being in touch with other people's feelings. It can create a lot of people pleasing, and a lot of just kind of hyper awareness, anxiety. I was just riddled with anxiety, and not really fully knowing how to exist inside my body, and then taking on everyone else's stuff as well, and feeling what other people were feeling. And the more I got to know myself, the more I was able to kind of deal with that in a healthy way. But yeah, I've been, I'm I'm a lifelong, almost lifelong vegetarian. I'm vegan now, but I'm very tender and sensitive about animals, and I feel like, I don't know, my fourth chakra is very open. I'm open, and in that way, and you know, um, I feel very moved by other people and, you know, watching them be alive and observing other people be alive and try, trying to endure and find light. So yeah, I think I've always been empathic, I would say.
Yeah, just going along with what you had said, as you were making the transition, and especially when it came to the catharsis in performing, a lot of actors are, really wonderful empaths, and like I said, it's a blessing and it's a curse. So where do you draw the line from, separating yourself from the outside world to, say, an audition or a self tape, but still holding on to that empathy? Do you have a process you go under to kind of give yourself a clean slate, but also be
Mm,
vulnerable to all these feelings? So I know it can be really, really hard, especially if you're going into a room after you just spent days in traffic, and say you got a parking ticket and you're going to do the singing, make sure you're memorized. What's your process of confronting that?
yeah. I think something I learned when I was in grad school, I went to NYU and I got my MFA, class of 2017. I love NYU so much. I love it. It it gave me it saved my life. It gave me my life back. Reoriented me. And one of the many great lessons I learned there was that I had a teacher, a mentor named Jim Calder, and something that he taught us over and over again was, I used to think that um, great art came from pain. I used to think that if you had all these feelings and this like pain and darkness inside you, which I had in droves, that that's what made you really sensitive and great, and I think the freedom that I got, kind of the reorienting of my mind around art making that I got from Jim was that all offerings of art are joy. They can be joy, even suffering, even sadness, even if you have to come in and do a scene where you have to weep over your, the dead body of your lover or something, that it's play, because it is essentially imaginative pretending that you have the privilege of living out. So if you can, for me, changing the nature of how I thought about an audition room, right? It's like if I've had a really tough day, I get to go into a room and play, right? And if I feel like I can't shake the day, then to me, I think the same principles that apply to spiritual principles apply to art making principles, because I do think art is spiritual. And I think that radical acceptance is the only way to make truthful art, And so the concept of if I come into an audition room and I've had a crappy day and been in a car accident, and if I'm coming in with material and I say, okay, this feeling that I'm carrying in here, it belongs. It's welcome. There's a place for this. And I don't know what that place is going to be. But if I try and deny it, that's when I get into deep, deep trouble. Because I think if you're denying, then you're probably lying, and you're probably not accessing or not getting as much access to your honest, whatever the honest moment is going to be. So, I mean, for me, it's a lot of trying to be radically present before I go into an audition room, seeing what's going on and saying, okay, these feelings are moving. I'm anxious about this audition. I'm nervous. Oh, I care. Oh, I care. That's great. That belongs here. I care. Beautiful. Okay, I'm prepared. That helps me. That helps
Yeah.
me big time, because then, especially when it comes, when it's in terms of coming into an audition room, the beauty of being in the room with people, feeling like I am fully prepared lets me know that no matter what experience I'm bringing into the room, I can say, hey, I've done my homework. I know where I am. I know who I am. I know why I'm here. I know what I'm here to do, not to feel, but to do. And I can just go with curiosity into that and say, this is me today. You're welcome. So that's the best version of myself on a stressful day coming into an audition. And the worst is, having an off day and not being able to center and finding a way through anyway, or not, and just
Yeah.
having a happy audition and going, okay, wow, I really wasn't present for that. I was really projecting into the future, or I was obsessing over the past. I wasn't really
You
in
weren't
the
there.
room. Yeah.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I love that. And speaking to your form of prep, has your prep changed at all? Going from where a lot of us start, which is say background to co-star to guest star to series regular. Has your prep changed at all? For each role, or has it sort of I guess you could say grown, but also stayed the same?
Um, so my background is that I have kind of a lot of influences that fed into where I am now. I went to an undergrad program where I actually got a music theater degree. I went and studied at a 2-year Meisner training program, Maggie Flanagan in New York, which is, the best. And then I went to grad school at NYU. So as I've moved through that, and in between, I was working in regional theater. I was doing, you know, um, I worked in a repertory company. I was doing, commercial auditions and indie films and stuff. And I think as you go, the more information you gather, the more you hopefully you kind of get curious about what your process is going to be instead of getting really didactic about it, um, and or really rigid about it. So I would say that what has been consistent for me, which got instilled in me at Maggie Flanagan, I think, is there are things that you must do when you're prepping, which is you have to know, you have to do your homework, right? You have to do it and do it well and do it as well as you can in the time that you have, so that when you come to the space you can leave that homework because it's in your body, it's cellular, right? And so you will make choices from a place um fitting inside the world you're trying to create. So for me, that's reading the script thoroughly. That's knowing who wrote the script and the tone of the pieces that they write, watching their other stuff if there's other things for me to see. um that's how I prepare for like an audition, right? And then doing the rigorous text work of knowing, what's the arc of the scene, and where do I begin and where do I end the scene, and they're going to be different. Crafting some choices that allow me to feel like I'm going to walk a path, um, and I'm going to walk a path in a directional way that has to do with me understanding the world of the play or film or movie. Um, when it comes to working on like Resident Alien, my prep, I would say I've gotten good at trusting that I know who and where I am, right? And listening to what's on the page and saying, okay, like what is it? What am I doing here? And what do I want here? And working from a place of more, I would say now it's more joy and more curiosity. It's more being willing to go out on the skinny branches and make risks, take risks, make choices. Um, Instead of, I think before I feel like I had to figure out how to get the scene right. And now I think I'm a little more willing to make mistakes in front of other people, mistakes, you know? Um, but I think the core of my prep is the same level of rigor of homework, so that when I get to the actual material, that I can breathe easy. That helps me because I'm like, no, I've done my homework. I know where I am. I know where I am. I know what the tone of this world is, right? I know how to exist inside this world. And now my only job is to respond to what I'm being given instead of to be worrying about generating a bunch of stuff on my own, this myopic obsession with your own work. It's not, everything will be in your scene partner if you've done your homework and just listen to them. So
Yeah.
is that
Yeah, no, that answers it amazingly. Because I know, you had worked in theater beforehand. And I do want to ask really quick, are you still working in theater when you're not on set, say for, a break from Resident Alien, or are you just kind of using that time to decompress?
No, I love the theater. I love the rigor of the theater. I love an 8-show week on a stage with a great cast of people who are just working their asses off every single night. I love a rehearsal process. I have had the good fortune to work with Jessica Stone, who has directed me 3 times since I got out of grad school in 2017. I She's an incredible director, and you know, I bring her up because we've had these. I'm craving another collaboration with her, and I've been craving getting back on stage. I haven't been on stage since the summer of 2019 when I did As You Like It at the Old Globe, because I've been working in television. But I I will never stop doing theater. It's 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 a different kind of hard, and as an athlete it feels, you're just exhausted at the end of a show. And I think it's great for the actor muscle to just keep that rigor, keep those muscles really strong, and your work ethic really high. And it's a whole different process,
Yeah.
being able to fill a performance that that reaches 1,000 people versus a performance where really you have to do everything just here, is they're so different, but they're I think they're equally important to kind of maintaining and like growing your instrument. So no, I'll never stop doing theater ever. I would love to do another play. I've told my reps, I'm like, hey, let's go. We're about to wrap season 2 of Resident Alien, and I'm going to have a little bit of time, and I would love to do a play. So,
Tell you what,
yeah.
there's a lot of experimental theater in Colorado right now.
Really?
Yeah, it's a little insane. My co-host Steph, who couldn't be here today, she's working super hard. She's a stage manager, and she's
Awesome.
constantly working on all these wonderfully experimental, theater pieces. I mean, my favorite piece of theater of all time, my favorite play is Fences. I love it. Makes me cry. I love it to death. But I have to commend you for loving theater that much that you will go through that rigorous work ethic. 'Cause I've seen everything theater performers do, and it blows my mind, and I'm just sitting over here in crafty because they're waiting for a lighting setup. Oh, this job's so hard.
Mm.
Yeah, like I said, it's a different kind of hard, but it pays off so much bigger. I can only imagine 8 shows in a week, and even if one show, say, doesn't go to your liking, you have 7 other chances. So that's just fantastic. And I do wonder, it seems like you were doing theater before you made the transition into film. So what was that like, moving from one to the other, or at least, say you get a co-star role? What was that like internally? Did you feel as if maybe, I want to say no, or what was your journey like, transitioning
Say no to doing.
to TV? Yeah, yeah.
I think that um, a lot of I think a lot of strides are being taken in television. I think TV is evolving into a form where like you have like I just worked on The Offer, and it's essentially it's a 10 episode limited series. It's essentially like you get to make a film
Yeah.
in 10 episodes, right? So, and I think there's a lot of incredible storytelling going on in television, and there are so many incredible writers and directors coming into the world of TV and kind of like blowing the form apart. And all of these streaming services, there's just so much content, so there's a lot of innovation happening in TV. And I have really been interested in being a part of that. I grew up being a theater kid, but I've always loved cinema, and I wasn't, I think I had a little bit of imposter syndrome. Like there was this part of me that thought, well, um, maybe I'll, maybe I'll be able to make art. Maybe I'll be able to, for some reason I thought of myself as I have the rigor and the work ethic, for the theater, and I can do it. But I didn't know, I guess I didn't trust that if you got that close, yeah, that's a really, vulnerable thing to say, but I guess I just didn't trust that if you got that close, that anyone would want to watch me.
Oh, interesting.
I
Okay.
don't know what that is.
Yeah.
I think that's just a thing that I carry as a woman and just as a person, what I bring to the table. But it took me a little bit of time to feel like I would figure out how to be intimate with a camera and feel like I belonged there. And grad school helped with that, helped prep me for that. I had done some film um, and a tiny bit of TV before I went to grad school, but they were all nothing was stacking up. Everything was like lateral. It was like I do a job here, I do a job here, but that does not a career make. So
Yeah.
I felt like when that transition happened, when I started booking some guest star jobs after grad school, the biggest transition for me was one, I really had to face myself and say, hey, the imposter syndrome thing is not going to help you now because you're here. Someone else, lots of other people who were in charge of this decision decided that you belonged here. So you need to get on board with that because if you don't, you're going to waste a lot of people's time. And a TV set, man, I'll tell you what, like our crew on Resident Alien are the hardest working people. I mean, nobody works harder than the crew. The crew just blows my mind. There are so many people on a TV set working so hard to get the shot just right and the light just right and the sound just right so that you can sometimes say 3 words. So being able to show up front footed and say, I'm here, I'm supposed to be here, and I'm going to do my job. That was a transition for me. I had to go through a little, private, oh shoot, oh God, here we go. And I also think I had to learn to adjust the size of my truth because I think that honest acting is honest acting, right? But there's a lot of ways to create. There's a lot of opportunity for style, a lot of size of your truth, right? In the theater, that if you're filling a space that's 1,000 seats, the size of your truth can expand past your body. But on a camera where moving your eye tells a story, your truth, not mumble, I'm not talking about mumblecore, but your truth has to get, like a dropper. It's condensed. Everything you do has value. So learning that by watching other people and listening to my friends who worked in television and my mentors who worked in television and watching other people do that, watching great performances and going, okay, I know how to make honest choices and how to listen and respond. I just need to figure out how to be intimate with the camera. And that takes practice and time. So
Yeah, it seemed. I mean, coming from somebody who's never done theater but has watched theater, it almost seems like that is an ensemble, and you are part of a larger piece. But when it comes down to the camera, it's just that imposter syndrome comes up, and you're stuck with it. I'd say the best form of it's almost like a torture therapy is join a mocap project where they have the camera this close to your face because they will peel you apart and say you're moving your mouth too much, your eye twitches a little bit when you say this or say that. But yeah, when you brought up the intimacy and bring down your truth, and thank you for saying mumblecore, by the way, appreciate it. All the film nerds like me love that. It's yeah, that's definitely a very vulnerable spot to put yourself through. And yeah, I do want to sort of transition into when you picked up Resident Alien. I assume you probably sent in a self tape or audition. What was the process like for that? Because you're going from from recurring guest star, co-star to series regular. So what was it like navigating that new path?
well, here's the funny thing is that I am not a series regular on Resident Alien, but I was in
Really?
I was in every episode of the first season. I'm in all but one of the second. And that is an interesting thing because um, that has a well, I'll talk about that. But what I will say about that is, if I had been a series regular this season, I wouldn't have been able to do things like The Offer, some other projects I've done, and so it's an interesting balancing act, those things. And those are all kind of businessy things about like how you craft your, um, how you manage your time and where you manage it and how you do that. But through the good graces of the people at UCP, our Resident Aliens, studio and Paramount, I was able to navigate, um, being a heavily recurring guest star on The Offer and being essentially a series regular on Resident Alien. And that is because of the um, generosity and hard work of my manager, Ashley Vickery, and my agent, John Mason, and our showrunner, Chris Sheridan on Resident Alien, who all conspired to make that, to work on that and make that possible for me. Because that stuff is hard during COVID, flying back and forth every couple of weeks from LA to Vancouver in a time where any travel at all and where COVID is everywhere. A lot of people moved mountains for me to do that. So just shout out to my people real quick to say, God bless them for doing that. But to answer your question, Resident Alien was Sarah Tomko, who plays Asta 12 Trees on Resident Alien, is my best friend. She and I went to undergrad together.
Oh my God.
Yeah. We have known each other a long time, and it's insane. I was in Los Angeles visiting her when I found out that she had booked Resident Alien, and we were celebrating. I was in her living room. I was about to head back to the East Coast to start the run of a show at a theater. And I got a call from my manager who said, "Hey, I'm wondering, I know you're about to start that cross country trip, but could you just stay one more day? There's an audition for a really good show." And I said, I can't, I got to go and I got to get going, start my trip. And he said, "Well, it's for this show called Resident Alien." And I was standing in front of Sarah and I was like, okay. So I said, yeah, okay, I'll stay. So I got off the phone and was like, "I'm auditioning for your show tomorrow." And she was like, and she's very connected. So she was just like, whoop. She's like, okay. We both kind of felt the magic coming. I had an in-person audition in Los Angeles that was lovely and warm. I could already feel a good vibe from the casting folks. And I started my cross-country trip in good faith, thinking I was going back to start the run of the show. And but when I was in Texas with my grandmother, they called me and said, "Hey, you're in the mix for this. So is there any way you could get to Atlanta to go into a room to do a Skype audition with the excuse me the director and the showrunner creator?" And I was like, "Oh my God." And I don't remember how many hours I had, but I got to Louisiana and then they said, "Can you be in Atlanta tomorrow?" So I woke up at 5, I left at 6. I got into Atlanta at like 5, slapped on some makeup, went upstairs to the space and got on the Skype and was like, "Hey, I'm here. This is my dog. My dog is with me. If he barks, I'm sorry. Then breaks. Let's do this." And it was an incredible meeting. We laughed a lot, and then I went to go start the run of the play. And I was at the theater the night before the first table read when I heard that I was the choice for this show. Yeah.
Oh
So
my God.
yeah.
Wow.
So I had to leave. I had to leave the show, which is hard. And those are kind of some hard decisions in the career of an actor. It's uncomfortable, especially because I loved the play. I loved the theater and I loved the director and the creative team. But I knew in my gut that I knew, and I knew that because Sarah was involved, that it was a beacon for me, that was what I was supposed to be doing. And so I did it. Yeah.
That is probably the most realistic, audition story I've ever heard. Some people just think, oh yeah, you hear it from your phone at your job or something, and then you have a couple weeks, you get to fly out somewhere. No, you're still living your life,
No.
and you got to manage all that. That's just fantastic. I mean, the show is amazing. I love the show. I'm waiting till the entire second season is out before I watch it, because I'm that person. I know it's really tough. I'm ignoring Google right now from
Oh,
spoilers. I know. I
the
know.
restraint. Oh man.
It's a lot.
Woo!
I'll look on Peacock. Like, no, I'm just gonna watch The Office. I can't touch Resident Alien right now.
Well, we just had the mid-season finale last night, and then we
Yeah.
don't start up again until like end of summer for the last 8 episodes.
End of summer.
Yeah, so it's kind of like it's like one season in 2 parts, so you kind of can watch the whole 8, digest it, take a minute, and then wait to start the second.
That hurts so bad. I didn't think about end of summer. Okay, all right. Well,
If you want to have a nut, you're gonna get it. If you watch 201 to 208, you're gonna get it. You're gonna get.
Damn it. Okay, you convinced. I didn't. Yeah, I thought, maybe it's May or June. I didn't think about end of summer because you said you're shooting the second half right now, so of course
Yeah, we're
that's
wrapping
take
up
some
right
time.
now. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Well, I mean, the show is a smash hit. You have all these amazing people in this very lovely and enticing story. I mean, I've always been a fan of Alan Tudyk, but you watch this show, mainly like he draws you in, but then the rest of you guys just you pull on the heartstrings so tough, it's incredible. So I mean, obviously they're different characters, but going from Resident Alien to The Offer, which is somewhat of a it's fairly grounded in its realism based on what actually happened, for pre-production of the Godfather, right? So it's not like a crazy surreal show. But what was your I guess your approach to The Offer as opposed to Resident Alien? Of course, it's all on the subtext of the script itself. But did you have anybody maybe you were honing in as far as previous characters or other actors? Anybody you were kind of looking at as inspiration outside of I assume you're playing somebody who existed during this, right?
Oh yeah, I play Ally McGraw, who was in the beginning of the 1970s. Was when Love Story came out. Was the biggest star in the world, and it is a completely different experience playing Ally McGraw and playing Kate Hawthorne. One, because for so many reasons, but if we're just nuts and bolts, Kate is the creation of the genius creation of Chris Sheridan, and as we have the beautiful staff of writers, and as we have worked on the show, we have come together about Kate. He asked me, it's an unparalleled experience being on a show like that, where it's the writer's genius and creation, but I feel integrated into the experience, and I feel like what I brought to playing Kate, the writers were able to turn up and see how Kate Hawthorne sat on me. And with Ally McGraw, one, I've always been obsessed with her. I think obviously she was a style icon. She's a beautiful and compelling, presence and actress. And also, the way she talks about the world, the way she talks about recovery. I read, the first thing I did was I read her autobiography, multiple times. I watched everything I could about her interviews, her work. I listened to other people's perspective on her. She was married to Robert Evans, who was the head of Paramount when The Godfather got made, and he was one of the people who championed, the making of that film and got that film made. And so figuring out reading his autobiography, and listening to the way he talked about her. And so there was so much research for me that went into the beginning of the process, because she's alive. She is a person. And in some ways, playing Kate is less daunting because she is an imaginative person, right? Who we're creating. But Ally McGraw is living, and I had to find a way to make peace with the fact that I will never be Ally McGraw. I mean, me on my best day, her on her worst day. You know what I'm saying? I mean, the woman is now and was then a paragon of beauty. And I had to kind of make peace with that and say, hey, they cast you. This is not your job to worry about it anymore. It's your job to do her justice. So, I did a lot of research about the way she moved and spoke. I hired Jane Fujita, my dialect coach from NYU, who I trust with my life. I did, a ton of dialect work in creating and trying to find a way to honor her cadence and her speech, because it's such an indicator of her, where she comes from and how she holds herself, but not to mimic her, to find where that sits on my instrument, how I sit in my body as Ally McGraw. So it was a really different process. The tone of the pieces is very different. And in that way, it was easier to do them both than it would have been if I was playing two characters who were just like a hair's breadth different from one another, because that, the difference in the two projects is really stark. They're both truthful, honest portrayals, but one is a dramedy, and there's so much comedy in Resident Alien, but and one about an imaginative character, and one is a real person who is still currently living, existing in a period piece, right? A period piece about people who really had an experience. So figuring out how to do that justice was, as I said, it was a very different process.
Did you get a chance to meet her?
No, and I think that, I would love to meet her, but I couldn't take that on while I was working, because I think reading her book, she moves me so much, and I'm so aligned with so many of the things that she values, and I so respect her as a human being, that meeting her and then feeling this, I think that would have doubled the sense of, I hope I do her justice. Oh God, and that at a certain point, I have to let that go. I have to be able to put that down and say, I'm going to do my best to live inside of this role, and recognize that it will not be exactly who she is, because that is impossible, but it will be as true as I can make it. And I would love to meet her after, but I also respect her privacy, and we'll see what she thinks of it. I mean, we'll see what she thinks of me being her. I just feel like that's gotta be weird, and like she's got better things to do anyway. She's amazing. She's like living in Santa Fe, being gorgeous and beautiful and enlightened in her body, and if
I'm
she
sure
ever wants to meet me,
yeah,
I'm game. So
I mean, there has to be a curiosity, right? If you hear somebody's playing you, I'd at least be a little curious, like, all right, well, who is it?
well, Elle Fanning is playing her in a film version, so I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm just a dork. There's not, it's not going to be. I'll probably just weep a lot. That's kind of what I do. I'll just weep a lot. So, anyway, maybe someday.
Well, yeah, you never know, especially in this industry. Paths cross all the time when you least expect it, right?
Oh yeah.
Is there a group of creatives, or maybe even, I don't know, it could be a singular person that you'd like to work with one day? And that's a really tough question, but
it's a really hard question, and I could literally sit here and answer that for 4 hours.
We'll start the clock now.
Oh my goodness. You're going to be sorry you asked. Okay. So, a person whose work on stage and in film, but on stage has always just knocked me out is Mark Rylance.
Oh
Um,
God, yeah.
I have seen him in like everything that he, has brought to the stage in the States. And I'll just never forget seeing him in La Bette, a play he did in, oh God, I don't even know, 20, I don't even know, in the 20 something in New York. Time is weird since COVID. But I'll never forget watching him walk on stage and going, oh my God, I have no idea what he's going to do. And his play, his sense of joy, watching him play Richard and Richard II, and watching him, this character that is often portrayed as villainous, and rooting for him from the moment he opens his mouth, because he's so joyful and alive. That thing about everything is joy. Even sadness is joy. It's curiosity. He's really there with you. Everything. Jerusalem. He was in this play called Jerusalem, where I went back and saw it and just wept, because I want to be up there out on the skinny branches with Mark Rylance going, I don't know, but we're going to find out together. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. That, I mean, Lois Smith, who is a hero of mine. She's an original member of Steppenwolf. She was in, you'd know her from 100 million things, but in film, you would know her from East of Eden. You would know her from Twister. You would know her from, I think she was in True Blood. She has been in like all of Horton Foote's stuff on stage. She's a legend. And again, she's a person, when I go to see her in the theater, I'm like, oh my God, I have no idea what she's going to do. I have no idea what she's going to do. I am just riveted. I have a dear friend who just got out of Juilliard. She got out in 2018. Her name is Brittany Bradford. If you don't know who she is now, you will, because she is the most compelling young actress that I have, ever watched. And she's in the new show Julia on
No way.
on HBO. Yeah. And she, I think she plays the head producer of Julia Child's TV show. I can't wait to see it. It's coming out soon. She's a person that I just, I want to work with her. I want to make art with her, because I feel like she's, I've watched her so many times on stage. I've watched her work, and I'm just like, oh, that is truthful. She moves me every time I watch her work. I mean, seriously, I could go on. I'm like, I just touched theater. I'm like, I could go into film. I mean, obviously that, there's so many amazing young people who are making art right now and making great TV right now.
I love that you got lost in it too.
I know. I mean, I'm serious. I could sit here and be like, well, this and this. I mean, Phoebe Waller-Bridge, there's so many people,
yes.
that like, there's so many people who are creating imaginative, incredible television and film. And anyway, I could go on.
No, those are perfect candidates and answers. I mean, I know that's not an endless list, but there's more to it. And it's the beauty of being in this industry, right? Is you're more than likely going to meet those people or work with them at some point or another.
Yeah.
Especially your friend. I could see you guys, if you and Sarah have worked on a show together, can do that, you will be in a show or some kind of performance with Brittany in the future. That's a given.
I'm like, I'm
manifest
like,
it.
I'm just looking for that constantly. I'm looking her up, because bring her on your show, because she's
heck yeah.
She's the smartest, fiercest actress, human, citizen, person. And I don't know. Anyway, I'm a huge fan. And anyway.
Oh, I'm totally. I will definitely reach out to her. I know I reached out to Sarah as well. So now knowing your story, that I'll have to circle back around in the next few months and see when everybody's free. But yeah, I'll narrow it down to our last few questions here. This one is a really fun one. It's just our party story question. So we like to ask all of our guests, do you have a story that sticks out so much in your mind? It doesn't have to be arch related, but something that happened in your life that you have held on to and you could tell at a party without any sort of hiccup whatsoever. Do you have a story like that that just kind of sticks with you?
Oh my God, I do, but it's not PG.
Oh, I rate it under explicit in this podcast because people can curse, tell their stories, names redacted, whatever it is, you can tell us.
I'm like deciding whether or not I should tell this story because like
as long as nobody died, I think we're all right.
Nobody died. No one was injured. Maybe emotionally, but no one was injured. My God. My God. Ugh.
I could see it just like playing out in your eyes right now.
What I'm really doing is I'm looking for another story that's as good so I don't have to tell this story. I'm like, do I have a better one than this one?
It could be something that happened on Resident Alien too, or maybe a really bad audition experience you had. It could be absolutely anything.
Oh my God. Yeah, give me some form because my brain is so nutso that I'll think of like a million. Give me some more. Put me in a little box there. Like, give me
any sort of awkward experiences you had with Alan on Resident Alien, because you're performing with somebody who is a legit professional goofball, and it could be that. Honestly, I'd love to hear more about your audition experience moving into TV and film, if there is something crazy that just stood out to you but ends up just being part of the industry.
Okay, well, this is not a great, well, I don't know, this is just what it is.
We can always bring you back in the future.
Bring me back. If in the middle of telling this I think of a better one, I will switch gears.
Okay, that works.
But okay, so I was going in for, I sing, okay, but I would say singing is a thing that I really have to be in a place where I believe that I belong, right? Like I have to really be grounded in that because my body will just be like, no, you're lying. And with singing, you really have to connect to your diaphragm, your first chakra. You've got to ground into the floor. You've got to let your voice really come out, right? So I don't do as many musical auditions. I don't audition for musicals now kind of ever anymore, but I did for a while when I got out of grad school. And I got called in to audition for the musical of King Kong. And I was like, oh, fun. And like, fun. I say yes, I was just out of grad and I say yes to everything, everything because it's a learning experience. So I went in for this audition and, I obviously learned the music and the sides and everything. And I was in this long, pink dress and had these high heels on and was trying to look a little, glamorous. And I walked into the room and the person in the room like was looking down. And if this person is ever watching this, like, I'm sorry, but this was my experience. They're like looking down and then they like looked up at me and then they like looked up at me and it's hit me while I was standing there that I was auditioning for a person who has to be like picked up by an animatronic King Kong. And I'm 5'8" on my own. I'm standing like almost 6 feet, right, at this time. And I'm like, I am the King Kong. Like they one look at me and we're just like, too much, too tall, and I was just like, oh shit, I just like, and my whole thing just was like, hello, and I just immediately was just false and not in my body. And my like diaphragm was like, we are not in service today. And, they were kind of like, okay, let's just, let's do the first, song. And I sort of sang it. And I sort of, like forgot what I was singing halfway through, just the whole crappy nightmare.
Oh, no.
Didn't, it got lost. And then it was just the actual nightmare, the thank you. And I was like, no, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for having me. Thank you. And me just like walking out into a waiting room filled with people who were like 5 feet tall, and I was just like, oh my God. And that might have been a coincidence. It might have just been that they were, but I was just like, that was a real, oh, am I awake? Like, is this happening or am I dreaming this really shitty audition experience? Because this is, and what do you do in those moments? You just, you got to go on, you got to go on. You got to say thank you at the end. Have a nice day. And you got to take that and drop it and be like, nope, that is not my responsibility anymore. That's not a kind of party story that I would tell. My party stories are usually pretty gross and raunchy. But I, for the sake of not humiliating anyone I know, I'm going to just say, how's that for a party story? Is that okay?
Well, then, at that point, in the future, we'll just get you and Sarah together to come back on the show. And I'll have to bleep so much, I would assume. From storytelling.
I'm like, I just, I don't know. Maybe that's a defense mechanism. Is I just, we were just doing some behind the scenes stuff for Resin Alien, and with me and Levi Feeler, who plays my husband on the show, and he and I are best friends. And every other comment, I was like, yeah, but like sex. And he was like, what are you doing? I was like,
it's
they're
definitely
married.
different. Yeah. Like you guys have worked together. You know each other. You're best friends. I could see it being a little weary when it's another actor that you are talking to over Zoom that you have never met before. So it's all about that like first impression thing, right?
I want you to respect me at the end of this.
It's okay. I used to do stand up. I respect a lot of people who've said some really bad stuff.
Okay. Well, there you go.
But no, I love that as a party story because it is very relatable. And I think we've all gone through that. I mean, I've been cast as urban youth, and I am a quarter African American, but I don't look the part. So when you walk in, you realize this is not what I was supposed to be. Okay, all right, I guess I'll just do it. You do the audition, and then you don't talk to your reps for a little bit. It's just,
Can we
it's
just
so weird.
talk about how much work our industry needs to do? Because
oh God, yes.
I mean, we don't. I understand that we're here to talk about me and my squirrely self or whatever.
I love the finger guns you're putting up, by the way.
I know, classic defense mechanisms. But really, I love working in TV, but like take the character away, and I'm like, whoa, I just do a bunch of, anyway. No, our industry, we just, I'm glad that we're finally figuring out that we're starting to figure out that there's a huge fucking problem. And, I want to be, if you talk about wanting to collaborate with people, right? Circling back to that, I want to collaborate with people who are making art that deconstructs that, that deconstructs the gender biases, the racial biases, the class biases that deconstruct heteronormativity. I'm queer myself. I'm married to a gentleman, a person who identifies as a man. But I feel myself that I don't exactly know how I fit into, the experience of, I'm trying to figure that out myself, how to navigate that, how to be a queer woman married to a man, and how much I care about um, giving voice and space to people whose stories need to be told that haven't been told, and how many of those there are. I mean, Resident Alien, we talk a lot about the fact that the indigenous community has been virtually just silenced,
Yeah.
or caricaturized in the history of cinema, and how important it is to be a part of. And we've had incredible indigenous writers and actors on our show. But I want to collaborate with people who are um, trying to figure out how to create more than just equity, how to create an artistic community that doesn't center around the same people in power telling the same stories. And yeah, so who that's those are, I just you said that about going in for auditions, and it just made me think of, we've just really got to start doing it different. And the people with all the money and the power have to be the people to fix it, not the people who've been marginalized or silenced or taken advantage of trying to crawl uphill to fix things. Anyway, and I just, I hear myself. I'm having a little soapbox moment, but
No, it's heavily warranted, because I think all of us who are of, even of those who aren't ethnic, quote unquote, as far as actors go, I feel like everybody's in the same spot. And it seems like this year there are methods to making that sort of sense of inclusion better without it being some sort of like politicized, hey, we did it, so now we're cool, right? Like we did that one thing. And so I see a change compared to, when I first fell into acting. I was cast as an East Indian IT expert and had to do a voice, and it was horrible. I hope it
mm,
has been burned.
mm.
But I was 19. What the hell did I know? I just thought, okay, this is the industry.
Yeah,
But no, that's
you tell me. Do you feel a change being inside it? Because let's talk about it. I'm sitting in a
yeah.
position of ignorance and privilege, and being inside the body of a white woman. So I have limitations. You tell me instead of me telling you. If you feel like for you it's changing, do
I
you feel like
feel
it's different?
I feel like I think I agree that you're right. We still have a long way to go, but I am seeing things improving. I don't know how fast they're going to go, but there's different things now where they're offering showcases. Big studios are offering showcases for those who are marginalized, and I have submitted to a lot of them. I'm waiting to hear if anything goes through. But that, and then the roles too. I mean, there is growth. It's not on a mass scale yet. And when it is, like, hey man, it's going to be amazing. That's going to be a great industry to work in. But for right
Mm.
now, I'm just looking at, okay, 20s to 30s, ethnically ambiguous. Cool. I don't know where they're going with that. And then I see the final product, and it's a white guy. I'm just like, but I
Woo.
also have to see the, right person gets the job. So I give it the benefit of the doubt most of the time.
Mm.
I do see, chances this year, in particular. For me, I haven't caught our listeners up, but I started gaining a lot more traction. Just I did a movie 5 years ago, and then years go by, I did a co-star, and then another year goes by, and things are now, it seems like traction is starting to grabble. So I'm
Great.
hoping, to I see shows like Resident Alien, and I see Reservation Dogs, and I see, people, because I am, I'm native as well. So I see those things, and I'm like, that's so cool. I just want to be like on the set. I don't care what I'm doing. I'll do crafty. Who cares?
Mm.
But yeah, it's just I
How
see a
good? How
improvement.
good is Reservation Dogs?
Oh God, I love that show so much.
Tasba and Tommy Tasba. Oh my God, we've had so many. Whew, we have a lot of creative overlap. Tasba,
Yeah,
who was a writer for us first season, Tommy Pico. We've had a lot. We're huge. I'm a huge Reservation Dogs fan. Um, anyway, anyway.
it's amazing. It's amazing. Now that we've had that chat, I will pivot it back to our second to last question here, which is, actually it does fit. Do you have any advice you can instill upon our listeners, whether it's those who are starting in the arts industry, those who are you know still in it and trying to make it worth their while and keep climbing uphill? Do you have anything that might help them keep going, or maybe something that you've learned?
Yeah. Okay. Um, Here's the thing. I don't know anything, but I don't know. But I can tell you from my own experience, I guess I know some things. I know
Yeah,
what
you
I've
do.
lived. I know what I've lived through. I'll say that. I know what I've lived through. And I think that there's a tendency when we're young and we're hungry and we're new to let this industry kind of trick you into thinking you've got to figure out who you have to become in order to be worthy. And the truth is, the more you are yourself, the more you trust yourself, as in the person you really are, not the person who you think will please the most people, not the person who looks the way everyone else looks or sounds the way they sound or has the same career path that they've had. The more you find out who you are, what makes you curious and alive, and the more you offer that thing, the farther you're going to go. You can have a short career not being authentic and people pleasing. You can have it. But longevity in this industry, I think, comes from knowing that who you're offering is who you really are inside, and that you don't have to change yourself in order to be worthy. That that someone is going to look at you and say, this person is offering me something authentic and real and honest, and I see that. And that is I think the thing that, you can get a lot of voices in your head in the beginning telling you, oh God, I've got to figure out how to fix myself and make myself this perfect machine that's finally worthy of a career. And that's bullshit. It's the more you strip away, the more you remove between you and your honest creative expression, the longer you will make art. And it may take more time. And you know what? It may take more time. And I would say, who cares? But I think that comes from a very privileged perspective, because there are a lot of people who have to worry about being an artist and making ends meet day in and day out. And I have been there, and I know that it's not as simple as saying, screw it, I'm just going to keep going and keep going. And there is a ton of sacrifice that goes into saying, I'm committed to this long term. I'm committed to this for a lifetime. There's no shame in saying you're not committed to it for a lifetime. But if you are, if you're sick with it, if you're alive with it, if you have to make art, then there is a tremendous amount of sacrifice. But the thing not to sacrifice is your authentic self. That is not the thing to give away and to give up in the service of becoming bookable, because you can't build a career off of that. And in the end, it takes, I think, and I'm working on that myself as an artist. I haven't found that. I'm working constantly to strip away anything that gets between me and telling the truth and breathing in and out and speaking from a place that feels honest and real. And that doesn't have to be me playing myself. It can be honest and real in the form of clown. But clown work can be, it is the most honest, the most real sometimes. It doesn't, the form doesn't necessarily have to be, hyper realism or whatever. But the point is, don't let the industry trick you into thinking that you're not worthy. You were born worthy. And if you're inside of a body and living and breathing, you're holy. And what you bring to the table is going to heal someone if you let them see it. And that's, maybe a little woo woo and spiritual, but that's what I believe. So,
I
yeah.
That's fantastic. I don't think anyone's brought that up, so I really appreciate you acknowledging that too, the whole authentic self, and not losing that in this industry that can try to tear that away from you. That's
Mm.
no, I really appreciate that, because I think I needed to hear that for this week for some stuff. So thank you first and foremost for sharing that. I feel really bad that I promised your agent, yeah, I'll stick to 60 minutes. Don't, or I'm sorry, I promised Ashley, your
Oh,
manager, so I'll stick to 60 minutes. It's fine. But I do want to say
I
really
don't,
quick
I
before,
don't care. It's okay.
you're the best. Honestly,
I'm enjoying our conversation. So
see, this is why I started the podcast. I want to talk to other arts workers and see, like, where's everybody's head at, especially following a post-pandemic world. Things have changed and things are
well, now
different.
I'm like, I want to know about what your world is like. I want to know about, how your pandemic has been. I have so many questions for you, but I get it. It's
Oh
an
yeah.
hour
Well,
and 10 minutes later, but we can still have those questions. We
we
can do this
can.
again.
Yeah. And I honestly, before I do our last thing, you do have an Instagram, right?
I do,
Social media
yeah.
presence. So when I put up the episodes, I always tag the performer in it, provided that's okay with them, and
Of
we
course.
share it on our story. So if you get a follow from me on Instagram, it's going to be this really serious faced guy with a red shirt and a big coat. So it's not some crazy person. Well, maybe, who knows. Anyway, where was I going with this? My coffee's wearing off. Aha, yes. So yeah, I do want to thank you again for being on the show. I hope I can have you back, because it's just been very informative, and I feel like it's just been a very genuine conversation. So it's always fun to have, somebody new that you kind of click with conversationally, like right away. It's been perfect. So do want to
Uh-huh.
thank you for that. And we're at my favorite part of the show, which is our awkward goodbye. So if you're ready for it, all I'm going to do, I'm going to give you a silent Wayne's World countdown. And when I point to you, give me your best verbal awkward goodbye. You think you're ready for that?
Oh yeah. Awkward. Oh,
I'm so excited to see what you
don't.
do.
I mean, I'm already like, oh well, I'm gonna let him down, but it's gonna be great. I'm already awkward, so we're halfway
Yeah.
there.
Oh
Right?
yeah, don't even think about it. Shake it off. What do they say?
And
Just
then
throw it
no,
away.
wait. I need to know this. I need to know some. So when I'm done with the awkward goodbye, are you just gonna like sign off and stop the recording? Like
I'm gonna stop the recording, but I'm not gonna stop the meeting.
Okay, so just cut me off in the middle of it, because it'll be
Oh.
funnier. I like a good bit. Okay.
I like where your head's at. Let's do it.
All
You
right.
ready?
Uh-huh.
And
Bye. See you later.